Hello, welcome to your speaking role play. I'll be taking part of a patient, or I could be a relative, and you will be taking on your professional role. The purpose of the role play is to get evidence of your ability to communicate with patients. Try to use your ability to fulfill as much of the role play as possible. Do you have any questions?
No, fine, thank you.
Okay, so I'll give you your scenario now. You've got 3 minutes to prepare your first role play. You will start the role play after your 3 minutes time, and I'll start your stopwatch. You can ask me whatever you're not sure about. You can try and make notes on the role play, and I'll give you a pencil for making notes. And you can look at the card during the test, but you must return it to me when the test is over. So this is your information for the first role play, and here's a pen to make some notes. So this is your first role play for the profession of nursing. Please start preparing now. Okay, so that's the end of your 3 minutes. And any questions at all?
That's
no?
Fine.
Okay, we're going to start now. Please start your role play.
Hello, hi, you Mariam?
Hello.
Hi, I'm Fatima, one of the practice nurses, and I'm seeing you for your diabetes review today. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's all
How
right.
are you feeling, Mariam?
I'm feeling all right. I mean, I know I was admitted to the hospital with something called diabetic ketoacidosis. So I've been reading about it at home, but I'm not really sure what this follow-up appointment is for.
Okay, so this is your annual diabetic review. So it's an annual review we do for all patients who have got diabetes, just so we can have a catch up about what's been happening,
Sure.
how are you doing with your medications, if there's anything that we can help you with when it comes to your diet and lifestyle. Now, I can see you've had a recent admission in hospital and you are slightly unwell.
Yeah.
So we'll just have a little catch up with that. Now, you said you've read about the diabetic ketoacidosis, so that's good. Is there anything you want to ask about that?
I mean, I'm a little anxious after my hospital admission because they said I could have died. So I'm quite scared regarding what's going to happen next for me. Is this like a death sentence?
Oh, I'm sorry you feel like that, and let's reassure you now that it's not going to get to that, but this admission is kind of like a wake-up call that your diabetes is really high. And at this,
What do you mean by it's high?
so your HbA1c, which is your background diabetic control, is above target for you according to your age.
Okay.
This is above target for you, and if your diabetes continues to stay this high, then you can possibly end up in hospital again with the same thing, or there can be other things going wrong with other organs as well.
What do you mean by that?
So when the diabetes is really high, you're at risk of having heart attack, strokes. You're also at risk of having problems with your eyes, so going blind. Risk of amputation also becomes quite high. So diabetes is, when it's very high, it can cause lots of problems. Okay, and now that you've had this admission, we know your diabetes is high. We can try and help you as much as possible to try and bring it, as manageable for you as possible.
Well, thank you for saying that. Is there anything I can add to my lifestyle to help
Yeah.
out?
So we know that your diabetes is poor control.
Yeah.
We know that you said you're taking all your medications on time. You're
to.
trying.
But sometimes I go to these parties and it's quite a long social event. You have to go there.
Yes.
It's just that sometimes then I forget to take my medications on time. But that happens only once a week, not more than that.
Once a week or so. So that's not too bad. So you're doing really well with that. If there's anything you think that can help you remember to take your medications, such as setting an alarm or putting your tablets by the bedside, so you remember. So taking your medicines as regularly as possible would really help.
Okay.
The next thing would be working on your diet and lifestyle. Okay, it's really important that you have a balanced diet and a balanced exercise regime. So diet-wise would be kind of having enough fruit and vegetables in your diet, having enough carbohydrates, having enough oily fish in your diet, so sardine and mackerel. That would be really good. Smoking and drinking, like you've talked about the alcohol, so reducing how much you're drinking would really, really benefit as well. Okay.
I'll try and do that. All right.
And exercise-wise, how much exercise are you getting?
So I have a very busy job, so I'm not really able to do proper exercise, and it's also a desk job. So
a sitting down
Yeah.
job. Okay. We do recommend that you try and be as active as possible. If you're doing a sitting down job during work hours, if it's hard for you to kind of every half an hour just to get up and go for a little walk, if that's not possible, then maybe on your days off, is that possible for you to kind of do a half an hour exercise?
I'll try.
We'll try, yeah. So what we do recommend is at least half an hour of what we call cardio exercise at least 5 times a week. And that could be anything from doing a little bit of Zumba at home, putting the music on and having a little bit of dance around. Or if it's just walking you're doing, then walking, but walking at a fast enough pace where your heart is kind of having to work a little bit.
Sure.
Okay. So that would be your exercise. Now, if you're doing all of those things, you're taking your medicines and you've got a good balanced diet, you've got a good exercise regime, and still the diabetes is high, then we need to start thinking about what is the next stage of medication for you.
Are you talking about insulin? Because that's something I don't want to do.
You don't want to do. Now, Mariam, I understand you don't want to take insulin. What is your anxiety around insulin?
So I don't know if you've read my notes, but I do work as a Uber driver.
Right.
So it's going to affect my livelihood. So
Yes.
I've heard that you can't drive for a year, so that's a bit scary.
You're right when it comes to driving jobs, but it's not, you don't need to give up your livelihood. Yes, you're right. People who do take insulin, you do need to notify DVLA, okay? But if you can provide 3-month evidence of your sugar monitoring, of your BM monitoring to the DVLA, and they can see that is reasonably well controlled and that you've not had any hypos, is when your sugar level drops very, very low, then it's completely safe for you to continue driving and earn your living. As long as you're sensible, as long as you know what the risks of having a hypo is, that you are aware of the symptoms and management of a hypo and monitoring your levels regularly and providing DVLA with the evidence, then it's absolutely fine.
All right. Well, thank you for answering all of my questions. It's just that I don't have enough time on my hands to keep coming to these appointments, and I think I'm wasting my time and wasting your time. So I don't really want to come to these follow-up appointments anymore. Is that all right with you? I'll do everything you've told me, but I just don't want to come to this.
I know it can be really difficult for you to come to frequent appointments, but we can work around that. I'm happy to kind of catch up with you over the telephone. Okay, we can have a catch up because I will need you to do some monitoring first of all. So when I do call you, we can set dates and times when I will call you, and if you can just have your monitoring ready for you and you can tell me what your levels are and how much insulin you're administering, then we can work together over the telephone.
Sure.
Is that okay? We'll try and make it as easy for you as possible, and if we work together as a team, then I'm sure we can kind of gain better diabetic control for you.
All right, thank you.
All right.
So that's just up 30 seconds above your 5 minutes time, but that was the end of your speaking. All right, thank you. Hi guys, this is Bhavna from Teachio Academy. Teachio is about teaching biomedicals for medicals. In order to do well on your speaking test, you need to understand why the examiners have kept a OET subsection of speaking. This section is a taster of what your life will be when you come and work in the NHS. The examiners want to know, can you speak in English? Use full sentences, use good grammar. When you're practicing with your friends or when you're practicing alone, try to record your voice and see how you score on the linguistic criteria. The second thing that the examiners want to know is when you come and work in the NHS, will you be able to fulfill what the job requires of you? You could see when we were testing Fatima that she covered each and every task point, which you could see on the bottom of the screen. This showed that if she has been given a job in the NHS, she will try and fulfill the same completely. The third thing the examiners want to know is what impression you give to your examiners or your patients or future clients. Fatima did not use the term "I am sorry" repeatedly. Instead, she took into account the patient's ideas, concerns, and expectations and tailored her speaking to fulfill the patient's demands. This is a better way of showing sympathy and empathy. I know people feel that the speaking subsection is the softest part of the OET test. However, this is the first practical exam you will be giving on your journey towards the NHS. You will give the PLAB 2, the MRCP PACES, and your CBT exams after this. So try and include the clinical communication criteria which you saw on our video on the bottom of the screen and use them in your future speaking practice or your speaking test. If you keep practicing, if you keep understanding the purpose of the speaking test, you'll do really, really well. Good luck.